the Industry of Things World 2017 here in Berlin. I'm here with John Carrier from the MIT. Hi John, and welcome to the conference.
How are you, and thank you.
First of all, I would like to ask you to introduce yourself and your background.
By training, I am a control systems engineer about 30 years ago. And when I first went to work in an industrial plant, I realized most of what I learned in control system theory was useless because basically everyone was changing everything in the plant all the time. So I spent a tremendous amount of time with the people on the floor straightening out the system so we can actually model and use feedback control. Now what's both exciting and different about this new wave of industrial Internet of Things is we're now going to be able to measure things at such a low cost and frequency that was not available to us before, except if you were in a nuclear or chemical plant. So we're going to see a lot of that sophistication coming to applications where we've never used them before across all industries. And I'm particularly concerned is how do we actually, you can measure anything you want now. How do you actually pick the measurement you need, and how do you engage and motivate the people working in the system to help make the system better and then make the work better for themselves?
So tomorrow morning you'll be holding the closing presentation here at the Industry of Things World with a topic on how not to lose the IoT adoption game. Can you give me a few more insights into your talk?
Yes, sure. And one of the things when I think about whenever you're in a system, are we trying to win or are we trying just not to lose? And what I mean by that is think about a fire drill, right? We don't measure a fire drill success by who got out fastest. It's about did we get the last person out safely before the system basically would have caused a fatality or catastrophe. And in manufacturing, you are not measured by your best part. You are measured by your worst. And that's, if we could just guarantee our worst case, that will keep us from falling into a lot of traps of adopting new technology that really doesn't solve the bottom line problem, which is risk.
What do you see as the main challenges and the main impacts that the industrial IoT is having on industries?
For several thousand years as human beings, we've had waves of technological introduction. And we can learn a lot from the past and also how it's going to be similar and then how it's different. The one thing I see that's very different around the industrial Internet of Things versus the previous wave of IT computation is this new model. You can actually get everything as a service in small modular pieces instead of having to put $1 million investment in a computer center and then buying the software. You can just rent it for as long as you need it and add or subtract to it as it grows. However, as a company, you have to be able to break up your problems into little pieces in order to implement it that way. And I think the companies that know how to take big problems and scope them down into little problems that are sequenced and therefore learn faster through those cycles will be the ones that are successful.
How do you see the IoT space evolving in the coming 2 to 3 years, let's say?
That's a very interesting question. And I think the way, over that time frame, I think we're just in the wave where the technology is now available and it's affordable and people are starting to experiment with it. Where I think it's going to go in the next 12 to 24 months is how do I actually integrate this into existing plants and systems? A much more difficult challenge than, say, I'm building a completely new facility. So I think there's going to be a great focus around continuous improvement and concepts like Lean and Six Sigma re-energized by a lot of these, the ability to get the data I need exactly at the time I need it.
What are your first impressions of the event and the different networking formats we have here, like the Icebreaker yesterday?
Well, first I ran one of the sessions of the Icebreaker, so I was very happy with it. But what I loved about it was we had a time to run a session, get to know each other, and actually study one of the oldest system games in the world, which is Supply Chain, which we're still playing that game today. It was great to start to network and realize we have a lot of similar problems in many, many different industries. And second is where I haven't been in another place where I could speak to someone who had IT expertise, who had vendor expertise, who had operational problems they were trying to solve all in one room. So that was very enlightening for me.
Well, thank you very much for your insights and your time for the interview, and I wish you a great rest of the day here.
Well, thank you. My pleasure.